So it's very important.
And even again, I'll say that a lot, like I violated all of these things, not in this relationship, but and I did some things that I'm not proud of that I shouldn't have done. I mean, we can go into detail in some of the other in the future episodes, but just to be fully transparent here is that these things would have protected me from the bad things I did, which again, I still should have gotten out of that relationship, but the way that I did it was not right. We both know that, and we've had plenty of discussions about that, which again, stay tuned for a future episode to get the full
watch
dirt.
Your YouTube channel.
Right, you can watch my
episode.
YouTube channel. But I just don't want to get into it now without context, because there's some
It's
explaining.
a lot of context.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, but anyway, those things would have protected me from making bad choices.
Well, boundaries would have protected you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But all right, what's the next one?
Okay. Next one is, we said passwords, location. This one is pretty simple. It's kind of very similar to the other ones, which is if a person of the opposite sex texts you, right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not completely business related, right? Or emails would apply to.
Yeah.
Then you just voluntarily show the other person. They don't have to ask you. You show it to them.
Transparency.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
Okay. You already know this because I literally had my ex-boyfriend from when I was 16 text me like a few months ago, like love letters that he had kept and sent to me.
Right.
So I could have been like, this is going to hurt John's feelings or like whatever, like, oh, I shouldn't show him. But that never even crossed my mind. I was like, hey, just letting you know this happened. I didn't respond. Why do I need to respond?
Right.
Like, that's very like, that's just not, like, I get that it's kind of like, if you're a nice person, it makes you feel bad for like feeling like you're ignoring somebody. But at the same time, like, it's respect to you. And that is the main thing. Like, you are my relationship. You are my now husband.
Right.
And so like what happened at 16, even though he might be holding on to these things, and even he was in a relationship, so he really shouldn't have been doing those things either.
Right.
Like,
well, you know what? This gives me the final thing I've been looking for the whole not getting rid of friends, talking to exes thing. So many people are so more afraid of hurting other people's feelings
than the person closest to them. Yeah.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. That's why all of those things matter. That's why when someone says, hey, I don't want you talking to people of the opposite sex if we're in a relationship, and you ignore that, that is why that is an issue.
Right.
It's because that's what you're indicating.
Right. And it is hard because like, you are ignoring somebody and it does make you feel like bad that you're having to do that. But at the same time, it's like, that's not your responsibility. Like this person sent you these things, not like you asked them for it and you're ignoring them. Right. Like that would be rude.
Right. And they know what they're doing when they're sending those things also. Right. It's not an innocent thing.
And again, this goes back to like guys, do they ever really like let it go? Women can do this too. But again, it's like I hadn't talked to this ex besides like he would occasionally say something to me when I was single, like happy birthday, but I didn't even keep in touch with him. Like we weren't friends to that extent. And then it still happens. Yeah. So it's like, it's best to like be transparent about all the things. Like even the other day, this guy that I went to high school with, we played a prank on my parents. And he texted me and I like, told John, I was like, and he had only texted me because my parents were in the restaurant. Right. And he was like, I think your parents are here. And so then we were like.
And he's gay too. So.
Well, I mean, but still like,
I mean,
we were still in on it.
But that kind of, the conversation we had with him afterwards would not have flown if he was not clearly flamboyantly gay, right?
But
because then I would be like, this
you
is
were
not
like in on the whole thing. Like we were sitting there. It like wasn't like some behind the scenes thing. Yeah. And so it's just best to like have the transparency again, because it's like something could like your old girlfriend could text you at any time, and she occasionally has texted
and I'll show you
and things like that. Exactly. And so it's just best to keep the whole thing open. Like everything should be open. Everything should be on the table. Because that is what's going to bring you closer to your partner, especially if like you are in a committed relationship, you want to marry this person.
Right.
Like, this is the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life.
Right.
They need to be respected at the utmost importance.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then
right.
if you're not already married, then you should really contemplate if this is the person for you.
Right.
Because
100%.
it is not hard to respect and trust a person that you truly feel those feelings for and have shown you that you can trust and respect them and have proved to you by their actions and things like that. So that's why, like, these things, they seem different on the outside looking in, but when you do have those things, it's not that big of a deal to put any of these boundaries into place.
And it's protection. Like I said too, like what can happen a lot of times, people will push back on this, or they'll be like, oh, I don't really need to show her everything. So then girl text, and then they're just like, up. Oh, hey, whatever, whatever. Now she sends a nude. And now the guy's like, well, I'm definitely not going to show her now. Like, oh, that looks nice. And then it's like, now you're actually doing something wrong, and you just went from you know what I mean? Because the way you responded to that, or that you didn't show that transparently, is showing that
now it's causing more issues.
Right.
Little side note, but I'm not going to let it derail us. Is that there was a time with me and you that your friends told you not to tell me something.
Right.
To try to keep you from hurting my feelings.
Right.
That's what a lot of people say. Like, they're like, oh, don't show them. Like, that'll just hurt them. And like, it's not that big of a deal. But what I told you is that I want you to tell me everything, even if it's going to hurt my feelings, because it will hurt my feelings less. For you to be totally open and honest with me, than it would be if you kept something behind my back and decided for me what was best for me.
Right. I agree.
Because then you're not really allowing me to process the situation the way I would want to. You're doing it for me.
Right. Exactly.
And so you did end up telling me the truth. And then you also realized in that moment, by how I responded to what you told me, which was something that was upsetting, but I didn't yell at you. I didn't like treat you differently. Like, you learned then and there the importance really of telling somebody something regardless of what you think might happen, because honesty and transparency is the key to like a very close relationship.
Right. Yeah. And that's where all of these things come from, is mistakes we've made.
Exactly. Here we are just talking about all of them. But then
figuring it out and growing from it and having a better than perfect, like what we call better than perfect. Better than perfect.